Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. Today is February 28th, 2025, last day of the month. And today we are going to start our potato planting. Not because I really want to, but more because I kind of have to. Not only are they chitting, they're kind of mushy and wrinkled. These are my blue potatoes that I saved from last year. And I don't have good storage for them, so this is what I've got coming out of the house. They were in the barn for a while. I had to bring them in because we had so many freezing nights. And the year before, when my potatoes were stored in the barn and they got popped with a freeze overnight, they turned into mush. Woke up the next morning, checked on them, kind of forgot about them the night before, and when I checked on them the morning after, they literally were like melted once it defrosted. So I knew better than to leave them in the barn full time. When we had the bad nights, they came inside. But again, without having a nice 40 probably to 45 degree storage area for them, they aged out. I still think they're gonna be viable. I want them to be viable because the only blue potatoes I have. Later in a few weeks, I'm gonna plant out russets, reds, and Yukon Golds. But I really want to have a big storage of these, and I've only got 3 pounds. So they gotta go in now because I don't like the condition they're in and I don't want them to get any worse. And as far as where I'm gonna plant them, I'll show you. I have decided that instead of committing bed space to these potatoes, I am actually going to plant them outside of the bed along the western fence of the garden. So the T-posts are 10 feet apart. I've got 23 potatoes. I figure what I'm going to do is start at this T-post, and I'm going to take them down to about right here, which is about 3 feet off of that T-post. So with 23 potatoes, we're going to be running 23 feet. I'm going to plant them about 12 inches off the fence and 12 inches apart and take them all the way down. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to bury them chit side up best I'm able. I'm going to dig right down through all this organic matter into the right down to the native soil. And once I hit really the native soil, which is pretty easy for me to see what that is because it's a red clay, kind of a gray sandy red clay that has a very scritchy sound when you get in contact with it, versus all the organic matter that I've laid on top of this over the last 4 years, which is really broken down and much more loamy, for lack of a better word. It's a lot looser. So I know I don't want to dig into the native soil. I don't really need to either, because I'm going to get, I probably got 4 or 5 inches of organic matter to get through. And once I do that and I get the potato buried, then I'm actually I'll backfill it with the organic matter that I have. And then I'm going to top dress it with maybe an inch of wood chip compost for 2 reasons. 1, I just love adding more organic matter to the soil. And 2, it'll mark the areas where the potatoes actually are, so I can kind of see this as a bit of a temporary bed, and I'll know where, when they start actually breaking dormancy and they pop through the soil, I'll be able to see where the plants are and figure out if everybody actually did take off. So I will do the first one close to the camera, and then I will do the rest of them. Yeah, I love planting potatoes. I also love harvesting potatoes. But I don't like dealing with potato beetles, and I have that issue here. And in a couple of months, when I do a garden tour and we have all the potatoes going, you'll probably see them. Not the most fun part, but it's part of the game. So let's get cracking. So we're about 1 foot off the T-post right here, and here's my potato. I'm going to dig off the wood chip first. And as you can see, I've got some pretty good dark decomposed organic matter. This organic matter, folks, is nothing more than about 3.5 years of wood chip breaking down. I've never added compost to this area. I've never added deciduous leaf fall or grass clippings. This is all just broken down wood chip. And you can see as you get through it, some of it's not actually that broken down yet. So it's still in the process of decomposition, but I think for potatoes, it should be plenty nourishing. So, and I can see right there, You can't really hear it on the camera, but I can feel that tip running right into a very scritchy, sandy clay. And that is about 5 inches of organic matter that I've got broken down here. So I'm gonna just move that off to the side. Take this little beauty. You know what? I'm not gonna go chit side up entirely. I'm gonna put it at a bit of an angle so he's got somewhere to work through. Backfill that. Pat him down. Grab my organic matter. And just like that, we've got a potato in the ground. 22 more. I'll see you when I'm done. So that's the start of the potatoes. I think the Yukon Golds, the Russets, and the Reds that I plant later, I'll bank more on those for larger volumes. They'll be planted in better weather, so hopefully they can get started faster and finish stronger. But I planted these last year, and I think I planted them in relatively cool weather to start, and they were a strong producer. So hopefully I get something going for them this year. I'd like to save most of these for seed potato for the following year, if only I had a good place to store, because I don't know, being that I've already invested in the seed potato once, it'd be awfully expensive for me to buy a large quantity of blue seed potatoes. So if I could just use what I'm growing now as my seed potato going forward, it'd be a lot more cost-effective method to have a continuing seed bank going forward. So that's the potato planting for now. I'm going to show you real quick one other thing I've got going in the garden over the last couple of days, and then we'll close it down for the day. One crop I wanted to get going now so that it could actually catch some moisture, and it does well enough at cool temperatures, so I'm not worried about it, and that is my my carrot. So in this bed I have 3 rows of Danvers 126. It's a variety I grow each year. They do very reliably in the clay soil. And what you'll notice is, as a cover, I have this corrugated metal roofing. And I like it because it's about 2 feet in diameter. So I basically have 3 rows with the off-center rows being about 6 to 8 inches off. So it's about anywhere between, probably about 16 inches wide of actual bed space being used. It doesn't fully utilize a bed that's probably closer to 30 inches wide, but for what I do, that's all I need. And I like the fact this is nice and heavy weighted to keep it from blowing off, unlike cardboard or row cover that I've got to keep tapped down. I've noticed this keeps moisture in pretty well, so hopefully it continues to be reliable for me, because last year was the first year I used this to cover carrots, and I got pretty good germination with its ability to retain water. So hopefully that stays true this year. And then I also, in these 2 beds, yesterday I sowed braising greens in this one. And the braising greens mix is a combination of bok choy, tatsoi, red Russian kale, and 2 kinds of mustard. And I included a couple extra mustard in the packet. So I have 4 types of mustard potentially in here. It'll be a nice pretty mix if it all germinates. And then I've got a bed of beets going in here. And I don't really need the beets at the moment because I still have a lot in storage, but more beets are better than fewer beets, and I do like beet greens, so I'd like to get them started now. And I know that based upon my work last year, the beets do a really good job of holding throughout the entire season. I mean, literally, I was harvesting beet greens off of a bed, and it might have been in this bed here. I was harvesting greens all season long, and I was treating it like the cut and come again method, where you just cut around the larger leaves and I let the smaller ones continue to grow out, and simultaneously the beets themselves continued to size up to where I had some that were sitting on that 1.5 pound, 2 pound mark. So I'll keep going with that process because it seemed to work well enough last year. And that's what we got going on at the last day of February. Hopefully the wind wasn't too heavy out here on the camera. I'm pretty sure it is because I can feel it blowing pretty aggressively, and I'm relying on the camera microphone for that. Hopefully you can hear pretty well. But until next time, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.